Hi everyone, welcome to Sweden, the socialist utopia where high taxes pay off. Or do they? So I recently visited my accountant to see how much I have to pay in taxes, since I'm technically my own company, I'm an entrepreneur. Before taxes I made 217,000, of which I have to pay 70,000 in taxes. Now am I happy about that? No. I'm not happy about that. Because the thing is, I've always been very pro the idea of welfare checks, of tax-funded hospitals, schooling. I really strongly believe that everyone should have access to these things, everyone should have access to good schooling, and everyone should be able to go to the hospital and not pay very much. If you ask me, hospitals should be free. And I still believe those things. But there's this interesting thing that happens when you're forced to actually pay taxes, right? It makes you think about, what's my money going to? Well, it's going to religious organizations that radicalize Muslims, feminist research and gender studies that take up like hundreds of millions, the import of rape. Let's not forget that one. That's a really big one there, the import of rape. Big fat politician salaries to politicians that aren't doing a good job and don't deserve a high pay. Basically, it is going anywhere but welfare. Hospitals in Sweden are fucked. We have some of the worst waiting lines in all of Europe right now. People are actually dying in hospitals because there's a lack of room. Cancer patients in Sweden are dying because waiting lines at hospitals are so long that before they get to their surgery, the cancer has had time to spread in their body. I'm living in this supposed socialist utopia, and I'm scared to get sick. I'm scared to become seriously ill because I can't trust hospitals to take care of me. I earn about as much as a janitor doing what I do, and I'm used to being on welfare, so for me this is kind of wealth. Like, I feel like I'm doing really good. I'm happy with that. But it's like, I know what it was like when I first started making money. I wasn't used to that standard, so I started buying shit because you think you have an endless supply of money. All of a sudden you realize, like, oh fuck, where did my money go? And you quickly realize that that wasn't good. And you adapt, right? You adapt your decisions, you adapt your economy, you become smarter, you learn how to save up money, right? Well, imagine if it's not your money. Imagine if it's someone else's money. Imagine if it's the taxpayers' money and it just keeps coming in and you never really have to think about anything because you're using someone else's wallet. That's what happens with politicians. Because sadly in Sweden, it's not a crime to waste taxpayers' money. I used to be pro high taxes. I used to think that the higher taxes, the more welfare, the more you can take care of the people. But living in Sweden, I've seen that reality doesn't really work like that. I mean, in theory it sounds good, but in practice, higher taxes leads to higher corruption because it makes everyone spoiled. There's this weird thing that happens where just because this poor guy is getting welfare, politicians start thinking, oh, well, I should get something for myself because everything is tax funded. So why don't we throw money on gender studies because that sounds nice. Why don't we throw money on this big party so we can get together a bunch of us politicians and eat really expensive food. That's a thing. That's like happened numerous times. Another example is this scandal recently with this president of the movie institute in Sweden. She said that she didn't want to give project money to any white men. Do you think she would have pulled that shit if it was her own wallet? Progressiveness and social justice isn't profitable. Because here's the thing about diversity. It fucking sucks. Nobody cares if there's a tranny in every fucking shot of the film. Nobody wants to see movies that feminists make. But the only reason why she can do that is because it's not her wallet. It's the taxpayers. She just has millions lying around. So she can be like, oh, well, that sounds like a good idea. That's tolerant. Let's put this on social engineering. Since it's someone else's money, it's comfortable. And that's just one example of what's happening in Sweden on a larger scale, right? The welfare state is keeping political correct insanity alive. I see these weird communist bullshit art, like period paintings in the subway. And this one chick in Gothenburg got like 30,000 in taxpayers' money to go to France and put on a burqa. It was an art project because it's illegal to wear a burqa in France. So it was some kind of anti-racist tolerance project. I don't want to pay for that shit. Sweden now has the poorest senior citizens in Scandinavia. Like a huge amount of old people that worked all their lives and gave their lives to this country are pretty much living in squalor, living below or close to the poverty line. We can't even take care of our old people. Imagine how they must feel after a whole life living in this country. And don't even get me started on mental health care. People who have mental issues, depression, want to kill themselves, eating disorders, whatever, forget support. When you go to the doctor or psychiatrist or whatever, they just want to give you pills because it's cheaper that way. Because therapy is takes more, demands more resources, takes more time, is more expensive. So they just want to get you on some medication. That is to say, if you even get an appointment, because usually you have to wait months. People with anorexia, or people who want to kill themselves, don't have months. And don't even get me started on the police crisis. They don't even have time to investigate rapes of children because they're underfunded. They're under-resourced. There's places in Sweden where only one cop car is patrolling the whole area. I'm not talking about the little town, I'm talking about several towns. And it's like, we have some of the highest taxes in the world. What am I paying for? If this was an investment, there would be no profit. Okay? There will be no rewarding return. I want my money to go to cops, military, hospitals, schools, and welfare checks. But it's like, I'm not getting that. We have some of the highest taxes in the world, and I'm still not getting that. And it's weird, because we could lower taxes and delete taxes for a whole bunch of stuff, and we could still get better welfare if the money actually went to welfare, right? There's this thing called press support in Sweden. It's for media, magazines, so they can survive. It's like welfare for media corporations, and it's many, many millions a year. And I'm just like, why should a government step in and help private corporations that are so shitty that people don't want to buy their product? If you go under as a media company, maybe it's because you deserve to. Why should a government bail you out? That's just one example of how we're wasting millions and millions and millions in tax money. And I certainly understand why companies are moving away from Sweden, because there is no reason to be a company in Sweden, especially not if you're a small company. If you have to give away almost half of what you make, how are you supposed to develop your corporation? What is there left to invest back into the company? The thing about being rich is that there's a principle to it. You maximize your income and minimize your outcomes. Meaning that you have to be cheap. That's how rich people stay rich. By not throwing away all their money. By investing it into the company, making it bigger. I really understand why companies are running away from Sweden. Because why would anyone want to be a company here? Being an entrepreneur is hard. You work really damn hard. People think I just turn on a camera and start talking, but no, writing a script, finding sources, doing takes, editing, takes about a week. And I imagine it's the same thing for anyone else. I don't think that it's easy to run a shop. And I hate this leftist narrative about how rich people are evil, or like anyone who has money or is an entrepreneur is evil. Oh, you capitalist pig. Yeah, some rich people just inherited that wealth. Fine, sure, that happens. But is that like the majority of rich people? Is that even half of rich people? I kind of don't think so. Rich people can either be spoiled or the most hardworking people there are. Like non-stop work. Because that's what it's like to run your own company. And the thing is, like, I don't have a huge salary or anything, but I still donate money to charities and stuff. Psychedelic science, both cannabis and MDMA. It's gonna save lives. The science on MDMA psychotherapy is fascinating. Basically heals PTSD, which is very good for rape victims or war veterans. And I give money to UNHCR because I want to help refugees in the conflict area. That's the best way you help refugees. One Red Cross food package is like 300 crowns. Feeds a whole family in Syria for a whole month. One migrant in Sweden costs 300 a day. So if your definition of goodness is to help as few people as possible for as high of a cost as possible while ignoring the majority of refugees that aren't in Europe, then that's a perverse idea of morality, isn't it? And I'm sick of how the modern left has a patent on morality. I read a story about how the Social Democrats are putting a lot of tax money into getting more immigrants to vote in ghettos. Yeah, I guess it's just a coincidence that no-go zones and ghettos are the strongest voting holds for the left. So the government is spending tax money on increasing their own influence for the election this September. That's not an abuse of tax money at all. Why should I pay for your ideology? Social security in Sweden is a disaster. 8 out of 10 people applying for security, like benefits, get denied. And we're talking about people who have injuries from work or some kind of handicap. They're getting denied because the government wants to save money so they can afford immigration, I guess. Sweden really proves that there is no correlation between high taxes and a population that's taken care of. And people are dumb. People are taking whatever welfare we have left for granted. They think that we're always gonna have social security systems. We're always gonna be able to take care of people. No, you're just peace damaged. You've had it okay for so long that you forgot what misery is like. And the people abusing the system are the same people that we're supposed to trust. The same people talking about solidarity. Same people talking about humanitarianism. Well, why don't you just start showing some of that towards the workers? Our government spends more on Afghan migrants pretending to be children who are also overrepresented in sexual assault. This group of immigrants gets more money than our elderly. We really need to ditch this stereotype that Sweden is some kind of socialist utopia. It's not. There's really nothing socialist about Sweden other than high taxes that are being spent on way much more than welfare, and welfare is not getting enough money. It's really just this simple. I want my tax money to go to maintaining a good infrastructure. I want it to go to police, military, schools, hospitals, and welfare checks. Those are the most important things, and the things that guarantee a good living standard for all citizens. I can't think of anything else that deserves taxpayer money. Can you?